Okay, welcome everybody. It is 5 o'clock and I see everybody signing in to the webinar. My name is Jason Patlis. I'm the president and CEO of the Maritime Aquarium in Norwalk, Connecticut. Welcome to another one of our webinars. We have had 4 of these so far. Today is our 4th. We've been doing this for a month. It feels much longer than that we've all been self-isolating and social distancing. But given that the Maritime Aquarium has been closed since March 13th, and none of you can come visit us in Norwalk, we are setting up these webinars. We have a full suite of programming online to bring the aquarium to you all. And we hope that you have found these entertaining, educating, inspiring, and giving you more incentive to come and visit us when we are open, which hopefully will be in the next couple of weeks, pending the Governor of Connecticut's orders and our and everybody's comfort level to come back and visit us. This week in particular is a special week for us. It is Teacher Appreciation Week. And so we wanted to highlight our education programs and represent a number of teachers and representatives in school systems around Connecticut. And so we've got a number of guests lined up to work with us this afternoon for our panel. And in particular, we've got a very special guest to welcome us and express his appreciation for teachers in the state, and that's Senator Bob Duff as Senate Majority Leader for the state legislature of Connecticut. Quickly, let me ask each of our panelists to introduce themselves and then we'll open it up. Tom, let me start with you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tom Naiman. I'm Director of Education at the Maritime Aquarium. I want to welcome everybody. We have people literally around the country joining us. And while our panelists are all from Fairfield County, Connecticut, I think a lot of the issues we're going to talk about are relevant to what's happening literally around the country and actually around the world.
Okay, Monisha.
Hi, everyone. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week from one teacher to another. I am the director of the Maritime Odyssey Preschool here in Norwalk, and I'm just so happy to be a part of this panel today.
Thank you. And Tina?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tina Hankel. I'm the Director of STEM Education for the Norwalk Public Schools, K through 12. And I ditto Monisha. I'm so excited to be here. We love partnering with Maritime Aquarium, so I'm honored to be joining the panel tonight. Thanks.
And Mary.
Hi, my name is Mary Servino. I am a science specialist at one school in Bridgeport. It's called Interdistrict Discovery Magnet School. And I mentor teachers at our school. Our school is pre-K to 8th grade.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. And before we get into the substance of the webinar, I would like to welcome our special guest, Majority Leader Senator Bob Duff, who has joined us to give a shout out to teachers all throughout the state. And Bob, I love your background, love the Maritime. A moment ago, it was the ocean and it was the coast. Now I'm looking at a beautiful lakeside environment. But thank you, Bob, for joining us.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you, everybody, for being a part of this. It's great to see so many familiar faces, and really wonderful to see people, I know, as you said, from around our neighborhood in Norwalk and around the country. It's really awesome. So first and foremost, I want to thank the Maritime Aquarium and all of their partners in the Norwalk Public Schools and Odyssey and everyone else for all the work that they do. Really, really appreciate it. And to thank all of our teachers who do so much every single day. I noticed, again, we have Tina from the Norwalk Public Schools. We have Monisha as well. Anybody else from the public schools who's out there? Just a shout out to all of you as well, and anyone who's in education. I joked that a long time ago, I was actually a long-term substitute teacher in the middle schools. And I got into politics because I thought it was a lot easier than being any kind of a sub or anybody in education at all, especially in middle school. So my hat's off always to anybody who spends time in the classrooms. And especially these days with distance learning and the challenges that is and undertakes, and to keep kids focused and learning is really, really important. So I'm just so grateful for that. And I think about also the teachers I had growing up myself in the Norwalk Public Schools at Marvin School and Nathan Hale and Norwalk High School. And I still see so many of my teachers, and I thank them for all the work that they have done to help me get to where I am today, and certainly could not have been anywhere near successful without great teachers and people who really cared every single day. Then I think about the teachers who are helping my kids right now. I have a senior and a freshman, and it's difficult, obviously, during these times, but I know the teachers are working hard to make things happen and to keep kids educated. So actually I did a Zoom class, with a second grade class at Columbus Elementary School on Tuesday. And I'm watching all the kids kind of like basically bounce around on their screens as the teacher was talking and I was talking, and it's not easy to keep their attention in a classroom. So trying to do that 4 hours a day is certainly a challenge. I can imagine what it's like even in a preschool. So again, I just want to say thank you to teachers for what you're doing. We do appreciate it. We don't say thank you enough. The work that you do when times are normal is extraordinary, and what you're doing right now during these unprecedented times is really extraordinary. And we all want to just tip our hat and say thank you for all that you do. And thanks to the Maritime Aquarium for always spotlighting education. It's more than just a place to go see cute seals or meerkats, but truly is an extension of our schools, and is a place for people to learn about being good stewards in the environment, and having partnerships like we do with Odyssey Preschool. Those things are really, really important, and especially making kids who normally do not have access to museums or access to the water, even though they may live close to the water, providing them with some of the tools and expertise and experiences that they normally would not have. So all of you, thank you again for what you do.
Senator Duff, thank you so much for those remarks. Two quick words before you go. The senator has a busy evening. He's got a reading to some kids later this evening. But first of all, I want to give you a personal thank you for your leadership, which has been ubiquitous, particularly during this period. I will say for those listening, it was Senator Duff who called me earlier than anybody else and said, "Jason, what are you guys doing about closure? This is important, and this is something that needs to be taken to heart." And so I appreciate the senator's leadership, particularly during this time, but certainly more broadly, and your encouragement, your inspiration, your ubiquitousness has really been a testament and great for all of us.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And your remarks on thanking teachers, recognizing what they do even during normal periods, but all of the pressures, all of the challenges that they are facing through this particular period, that's absolutely what we'll be highlighting over the next 50 minutes. And this webinar is an opportunity to give folks a deeper sense of what is going into all of the work of teachers as part of this appreciation towards them. So thank you, and till the next webinar.
Okay, I'll see you soon. Take care, everybody.
Okay,
thank you. Thanks for all you do. Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you. So by way of background, we wanted to ask each of our panelists to tell us a little bit about the institutions that you represent. Give us a sense of the students and the programs. And obviously these are unprecedented times, but we want to think back to what normalcy looks like, so we can then talk about what's going on right now. So why don't we start, Monisha, with you? Why don't you tell us a little bit about Maritime Odyssey Preschool, and what you would have wanted people to appreciate about your teachers if we were having this conversation before the pandemic.
Sure. Well, the Maritime Odyssey Preschool is a STEM-based preschool, the largest school readiness and CDC program in the city of Norwalk with over 200 children. And we are partners with the Maritime Aquarium. We have an actual on-site STEM lab that partners with a STEM specialist every single day. So we are completely tremendously honored to be leaders in that field with STEM education. I think when I think about the work that I do as a director, and some of the students that we service the poorest children in the community. Over 75% of our children live below the poverty line. We have students who come from households where English is not the primary language. That's over 80%. And our families represent over 40 different countries. And so we are a STEM-based program that is also very diverse, which we love. And that's also reflected in our teachers who represent over 15 different languages, countries as well, backgrounds, and 5 languages. So when I think about what I would love to thank them for, I think what we see happening with our teachers is that they are still being teachers at home while they're still caring for themselves. And I think it's something very tremendous about what they are doing in the midst of this pandemic that I want to thank them for. Even our program, we're fortunate that our students still get access to the Maritime Aquarium online through work that we are doing with them. We're very fortunate that our students have tablets and access to the internet, but we're even more fortunate that we have incredible teachers showing up every day to teach these students. And so I am thankful and grateful for their commitment to provide our children who need us with the best, even during this time.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you. Why don't we stay in Norwalk and turn to Tina. Tina, you're Director of STEM at Norwalk Public Schools. Tell us a little bit, for those who may not be familiar with Norwalk schools, about the schools and your students and programs.
Sure, thanks, Tom. So as Monisha said, we actually take in all those same students that are part of her preschool program, and they filter into our district. Norwalk Public Schools is actually 22 schools on 20 campuses. We have 12 elementary schools, pre-K through 5. We have 5 middle schools because one of our schools is a K-8 magnet school, so we include them in part of our middle school design. And then we have 4 high schools located on 2 campuses. And so we really pride ourselves on the fact that most of our schools really focus on different themes, one of which obviously is STEM, but we have a lot of additional types of schools and programs throughout the district that focus on a specific aspect or theme to provide more choice to our students. Norwalk is a district of choice, and we pride ourselves on that. So students have the opportunity to apply and attend any school throughout the district, regardless of their location. So if there is a school, for example, like the middle school that is a STEM or a STEAM focused middle school, and they want to attend that school, they can apply and actually go to that school. Our current enrollment is almost up to, I think it's over almost 13,000 students. I think that might be an older number. But we really pride ourselves also on the fact that we have a lot of great partners in our community and with our teachers to help infuse and enhance instruction. And we've really utilized our partners more so now than ever before, and Maritime Aquarium being one of them. And we could talk a little bit more about how we've done that this school year, because as Monisha said, we really are so intrigued and supportive of our teachers because we've asked them to do things that we've never expected them to be able to do, really, in the fact that, to transition from a live instruction to virtual instruction, use tools that maybe they've never used before, be brave and really try to embrace this unknown landscape now that we're in. And they've really met this challenge better than we've ever expected. So we really celebrate them this week, and we honor them, and we thank them for all they've done.
Fantastic. So we're going to move up the coast a little bit to Bridgeport. I do want to remind our participants, you have a chat box at the bottom of your screen, and we will very happily take questions from our audience. So please feel free to type questions in the chat box, and we'll be monitoring that. So moving up the coast a little bit to Bridgeport. Bridgeport is a large urban school system, one of the biggest in Connecticut. Tell us a little bit about Interdistrict Discovery Magnet and your programs and students.
Great. So Interdistrict Discovery Magnet School is a public school, just like all the schools in Bridgeport. And the thing that makes us a little bit special is that interdistrict. So we house 70% of our students are Bridgeport, and they are accepted to our school through a computer-based lottery. And then we have 6 surrounding suburban neighborhoods who can also join our school. So this also makes a very diverse, fun school to be in. And because we have our urban and suburban combination, then what we have to do is we have to really try to create this atmosphere where we have a lot of STEM programs and a lot of partners to keep those suburban kids still interested in coming to an urban school. So as I said before, we're pre-K to 8th grade. It's a fairly small school. We have approximately 45 kids per school grade level, and that equals about 500 students. So with that, we have partners. We're partnered with Maritime Aquarium, and we also have other local partners that were really close to Bridgeport. So there's a zoo in Bridgeport called Beardsley Zoo. We're partners with that. We are actually right next door. We're adjacent to a physical science museum called Discovery Museum. And that's where our school got its name from. So we partner with them. And Fairfield Audubon is a partner. And we also have just added a new partner this year, Food Corp, to help teach kids healthy eating and healthy lifestyles. So with these, we have various programs with partners, but we also do a lot of in-school STEM. So some of these things are, we have Invention Convention, we have Science Fair, and we have programs outdoors, we have programs indoors. We've just added an outdoor classroom to our school 3 years ago that the teachers utilize. We have 90 acres of woods behind our school that we do a lot of teaching activities there. And then we also offer a lot to our middle school kids. And when I say middle school, I kind of base it from 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, because we have these 5th, 6th grade teams and these 7th, 8th grade teams. So they have all kinds of enrichment opportunities that they select in school. So we have specific times during the school day that they can take a cooking club. We have beehives on our campus, so they can participate in bee clubs. We have trout in the classroom. We have Build It. We have robotics, nature's programs, gardening programs. We have hydroponics, pollination gardens. We're trying to meet all the interests of the kids so that they're excited about learning and they want to come to school on a daily basis.
Fantastic.
So, to quote, for the teacher appreciation, I want to quote Dr. Morgan, who is our executive director of elementary education for the Bridgeport School District. And she says that everybody should understand that teachers make sacrifices to make their students' lives better. Teachers fight for, defend, and raise their students, sometimes at the expense of their own families. Teachers constantly go above and beyond our expectations, and they deserve appreciation for all that they do.
Fantastic. So obviously there are some really wonderful things going on in terms of STEM or science, technology, engineering, and math education in Connecticut. But Connecticut, like virtually all states in the country, has a huge achievement gap. Jason, I think we have a couple of visuals that we could put up. I think most people who've joined us are interested in education, so we don't need to dwell on these statistics, but Connecticut, by some measures, has one of the biggest achievement gaps in terms of STEM in the country. That achievement gap is demonstrated on the left very visually in terms of math. On the right, we have science scores that also show a very dramatic achievement gap. We have one more visual that shows achievement in terms of need, high needs versus non-high needs students, and we see huge achievement gaps in that area as well. So I'm interested in hearing from our guests what your concerns are. Obviously, we face some daunting challenges under normal circumstances. What is the current situation? What extra challenges does it pose? Maybe, Tina, why don't we start with you?
Sure. So as probably in most districts right now, one of our greatest challenges when we transitioned to a virtual environment was access for all. We needed to ensure that students could access content and connect with their teachers on a regular basis. And so we still are in the process of trying to ensure that students are one-to-one with access to a device as well as access to the internet. So we are blessed to have all of our students one-to-one in grades 4 and up, but we are still working on grades K through 3, to be honest with you. So we're going to move through the next phase of deploying Chromebooks and tablets for grades 2 and 3. But we do not foresee being able to distribute K and 1 for at least a few more months to all of our students. And it's in part because, one, we do not have access to the building any longer for safety reasons. And two, even if we were to order some of our technology that we're missing in order to allow access for all kids, there, as you probably all know, if you're ordering on Amazon right now, shipping and being able to actually gather these materials is on a severe delay, and or we cannot access them or get them right now. So that was our first real big challenge and hurdle that we needed to overcome quickly. We did not deploy all of our devices right when we went into distance learning back in the beginning of March, or the second week of March. Most of our students in grades 6 through up were one-to-one, but in K through 5, they weren't. So over the first few weeks of remote learning, when we quickly realized we weren't returning right away, we thought maybe we only needed to plan for 10 days and we'd come back and everything would be back to normal. And then we realized that wasn't really going to be a reality. So we quickly had to deploy Chromebooks that we were intending to deploy to an upper grade, but we decided that we needed to deploy them to the grades 4 and 5, and we had a huge system throughout the district for parents to come and pick up Chromebooks, and the schools and their staff were in a skeletal mode with less staff on campus to help us distribute all of those Chromebooks to students in grades 4 and 5.
And Tina, what platform are you using predominantly in Norwalk?
As far as a content management system?
Yeah.
So we're a Google school, a Google school district. And so all of our content is housed on Google Classroom and through the Google Suite and Google Drive. Most of our apps and tools that we're using throughout the district, we are ensuring that they link and sync correctly to Google Classroom so that on the student end, it's easy for accessing that content, as well as being able for teachers to push out that content more frequently and regularly. We've really tried to focus on the fact that now is not the time to add a lot of new tools and a lot of new technology that maybe our staff and our students have never learned how to use, because it's just too much of a lift right now. So we in Norwalk are very fortunate that over the years we have a lot of devices and applications that we already had at our fingertips before we went out in a remote environment. So we really tried to hone in and use those tools to a higher capacity than maybe we were using before. So that's been our mission, to really bring in any new tools. If we already have tools that are high quality tools to help kids be engaged and use those applications for learning, versus adding anything new at this time.
Fantastic. So Tina mentioned, Monisha, Tina mentioned that they're rolling out now to the younger grades. I think one can only imagine the challenges of doing distance learning with preschoolers. And so tell us a bit about what your teachers and students and families are doing right now, and how that's going.
So again, we're very fortunate to have a partnership with the Maritime Aquarium where a lot of this STEM technology, STEAM work was being done. Right now, our teachers are teaching virtually. When we talk about what is learning and how we define that, our primary goal in our online work with our children is to continue that social, emotional work that not only the children need, but our families need. You know, so we're finding that for our younger kids, we are, again, from 3 to 5 years of age, they are on at different times. So we have them to do our curriculum, which we use as Big Day for Pre-K, already had components of it in which our parents were able to, throughout the year, access a lot of the curriculum, the books in different languages, and communicate through class tags, some of the forms we use to communicate. But then we found ourselves that understanding that online learning is completely different. So our challenges are that, one, we had to begin to train the parents because we have digi-babies. I think people think that the preschoolers have a tough time, but it's the preschoolers who are really showing parents how to work this thing. And so we find that when we use Zoom, which is our primary platform, our kids know how to mute. We know how to use the whiteboard in Zoom. We know how to upload videos in Zoom and also show the text in Zoom. And so our kids, to our surprise, and we're doing initial observations on this with research partners to think about what does online learning mean for this age group. And I would say the last thing that we're challenged with, Tom, is that when you have families who have to begin to be teachers, and they have that responsibility in addition to their daily lives, and they might be dealing with their own personal health or outside issues, how do we find support for them as well? And so one of the things that we've done is we've launched a family chat room where our families can get on twice a week and speak with our certified board social worker psychologists to answer questions that they may have. And so we really need to take an approach of how do we still address the whole family and also continue to support our teachers as well.
Fantastic. So, Mary,
Tom, let me interject before you go forward. So Manisha, thank you for the primer on using Zoom. I want to make sure that everybody who's listening knows that this is not just a conversation among the 5 of us, but that people are welcome to use the chat function in Zoom. You'll find it at the bottom of your screen. And please fire your questions, your comments to the panelists, to Tom, myself, Mary, Manisha, or Tina. We do have a handful of questions that have come in, mostly shout outs. Mary, some fans of your guitars over your shoulder. And a colleague of yours, Selena Morgan, Executive Director of the elementary schools up at Bridgeport. Somebody from the Fusion Academy down in Greenwich. So a lot of your compatriots participating and listening in. And for all of you, feel free to fire your questions as we move forward.
Great, thanks, Jason. So, Mary, I was going to ask you about the situation you're seeing. Your school, as you said, spans K through 8. I know that Bridgeport early on said that students could not use Zoom. And tell us a little bit about the technology you're using and what some of the challenges have been.
Great. So, you know, we share a lot of parallel problems that Norwalk is having on, you know, computer-based learning and this distance learning, but we started slow. So, Bridgeport has been adapting day by day. You've got to hand it to Bridgeport Public Schools. If the teachers are complaining about something or if the parents are reaching out about too much work, they adapt and they change. So we started off, again, thinking that this was only going to be a couple of weeks, that we had created weekly packets for the kids because we knew we weren't going to get the technology up and running in the beginning of the pandemic. So for 2 weeks, the kids came, the parents were supposed to come into the school and pick up a packet for that week's worth of work. By that time, the third week, we knew that we were going to have to do distance learning online. And during those weeks that the kids were doing packets, teachers were getting trained in how to do our online formats. So we're not Google Classrooms, we're Microsoft Office 365. So we have these, they're like chat rooms called Teams, and the kids get all of their information on Teams, the teachers reach out on Teams, and that's how we do it. We've run into complications with Maritime Aquarium when we're doing virtual learning with them. You being Zoom and us being Teams, Maritime has been so awesome. They learned Teams, got on, and everything was ready to rock and roll. So just the fact that we're listening to the parents and getting feedback and changing, we realized very quickly that a lot of the schools, a lot of the kids in the schools didn't have Chromebooks. They didn't have computers at school. So Bridgeport reallocated funds to provide Chromebooks for every family that needed something. So again, just like Norwalk did, we had these specific days and times where they would come safely to the school, check one out so that there would be some sort of platform to use it. So now we've gotten full throttle with the teams, and it has been amazing. The teachers, you have teachers that really weren't too confident in technology. And this is a huge gap too, the teachers learning this and teaching that to the kids. But they've really pulled force, and they've come together, and they've learned, and they chat with each other to work out what the problems are, and they're going out of their comfort level to really try to make this work. So that's been really good. And to piggyback on what everyone else is saying too, is that we're really finding the gap is really scary, because Bridgeport coming to the schools, it is an important part in a lot of these kids' lives. This is the foundation. This is where their friends are. And we've had students from day one, from March 13th, that have been ghosts and trying to reach those kids. And some of these kids are they're struggling in school anyway, but then we have kids that are A students who we still haven't seen or heard from, no matter how much we reach out to the families. So that's been problems for us. We offer a lot of supports as well online. We still have guidance counselors and any type of support for these kids, but the gap is definitely there.
So it's interesting. I wanted to ask you all about what you see as emerging best practices. I mean, this is early on, obviously, but we're interested in what you see that's working. And Mary, your comments really raise the question of what's working not just online with students, but what's working in terms of reaching out to parents. And you touched on that, Monisha. And I'm interested, maybe Tina, you could start by telling us if you're seeing similar challenges to what Mary just described and how you are addressing them.
Sure. Yeah, I really, I echo a lot of Mary's frustrations, especially with students that, in a live setting maybe struggled with the engagement and motivation to come to school. And it's funny because, we're seeing, because the landscape has changed, we are seeing a shift in motivation and engagement for kids. Some kids really like this environment and they're excelling. And then some kids that were excelling in the live environment are not excelling, and we can't really hook them back in, or having a difficult time doing that. We have to do a lot more extreme measures of communicating and connecting with them. just to piggyback a little bit on our system in Norwalk, I'm very proud that since we went into distance learning, we quickly got on the ball with creating a synchronous schedule for all teachers and students to connect together from 8 to 12. So throughout the district in grades 4 through 12, there is live instruction, whether it be through Google Meet or Zoom, for all students to connect with their class and their teachers, and there's live instruction happening. It obviously, since we've gotten a little bit better at this whole learning experience, our teachers are getting more comfortable with infusing blended models of learning, flipped classrooms, taking videos of themselves, using tools like Nearpod to transform maybe a flat Google slide deck into something that's more interactive, and students have to actually interact with each other and the content on the screen. For K3, because as I mentioned before, they don't have devices right now. Since we've been in a remote environment, we as a district have been planning weekly learning experiences in all content areas. We've been printing and mailing the learning home to them on a weekly basis for all students in grades K through 3. We've even been transforming those learning packets into Spanish because we have a high population of EL students, and we've been manipulating those so that they can actually have access to the learning as well. And our special education teachers and leaders are also helping us differentiate those plans for our students. So I mean, the work that when we as leaders here, when we talk about the work of the teachers that they're doing, it is such a mind shift, not only with the environment, but the workload and the workflow that our teachers are undergoing. It's 24/7, 7 days a week, and they're on and connected in some fashion all the time. And so you're asking what's working and how do we keep these kids motivated and engaged? I think it's a combination of things, right? We're very fortunate in Norwalk that we always believed in that synchronous instruction and live connecting with kids. Having that schedule from the beginning, from 8 a.m. to noon every day, has been an asset for us because it allows us to say, you're expected to be in class. I am going to check in with you. And if you're not in class, I'm going to follow up and find out how come. But also during asynchronous time, there is a climate now that we've recognized that we're not penalizing students in this environment. We want them to still learn. We recognize that the flexibility that comes along with these remote learning environments has to be flexible, and that's okay, right? We're doing a lot of this, be kind to yourself, be kind to each other, and it's okay if you didn't get this assignment done by this due date, but you have until tomorrow because you needed some individual time to work on it on your own. So the combination and the flexibility between an asynchronous and a synchronous environment has been a strong foundation for us. And then utilizing the tools to make it more engaging, such as a Nearpod or a Flipgrid, incorporating videos into the platform, I think allows for that social aspect that we know learning is really founded on, especially in science and engineering and all the STEM practices. We never really wrote our curriculum thinking that we were never going to be able to talk with each other in small groups or have our hands on some manipulatives and science tools. So that has been, I think, the greatest struggle, especially for our science and our math teachers, because we're so used to having tangible things in front of us. And now we have to think of those tangible things to be more virtual. So I could go on a long time, but I'll stop.
No, that was
I can.
fantastic.
I'm sorry.
So Monisha, what about you at Maritime Odyssey Preschool? What are the things that you think are working best? And I'm talking in terms of what's working in terms of the interaction with the kids, but also what's working for those families that it may have been difficult to engage with.
So I'm going to say the number one thing that's working are our rock star teachers, okay? Odyssey teachers, I have to say, are absolutely hands down the greatest teachers I have ever come in contact with. When you have teachers who make a commitment to do this work, They're not fussing, they're not complaining, they understand this is what they need to do. You cannot move it forward without that level of commitment. The other thing I would say, Tom, is that we've been fortunate to work with Peer at Yale University, Michael and also Joanna, who have developed, particularly for our preschool program, which is now open to all preschools, the ability to survey all of our parents. So we issued a survey to parents, to teachers, to figure out what are they truly experiencing during the coronavirus, and so that we can best help them. And we found that over 175% of our parents participated in the survey. And so they are eager to tell us what is going on. And I would say the other piece is that right now, what is working well are partnerships. You know, we have the aquarium that said, you know what, we're still up, we're still offering virtually. We still have our drummer saying we're up working. We have people coming together during this crisis saying, we're gonna figure it out together. For us in the field of early childhood education, there's limited research on this, right? And so trying to look at the young learners is something that we have to embark upon as we move forward, because there just isn't enough research to suggest what is appropriate for online learning for preschoolers. What does it look like? So we're hoping to share in that work as well. But I think those combinations of things, great teachers, research, and partners getting it done is what's helping us move this work forward the best that we know how.
So
Fantastic.
let me jump in to say that while Monisha is complimenting her teachers, there's quite a fan club among our audience, Monisha, for you, and some of your teachers are on and recognizing what a wonderful leader you are at the preschool. And I think that only underscores that these are partnerships that start internally with who's teaching, who's administrating, you know, and then extends into parents and how they play a role in all of this. But you know, this is a collective effort that in which all of you are engaged.
And you mentioned partnerships, Monisha, towards the end of your remarks. Obviously, we partner with you. We partner with Norwalk Public Schools and Interdistrict Discovery, Magnet. It'd be great to hear, Mary, about other partnerships that you may be pursuing in this new and different time.
It's great, absolutely. So I want to just tell you that all of our partners have been amazing. And if you are listening and you don't have partners, reach out to some of these organizations around your school, because they are so willing to help. Once this had happened and we're stuck at home, Maritime Aquarium reached out to us and said, hey, we've got somebody that gave us money and we can do these virtual learning labs. Are you in? And it would be a no-brainer to say no. So some of our other partners have done the exact same thing. We have Fairfield Audubon, so local Audubon chapter that's here in Fairfield, Connecticut, and they send us free lessons for kids ranging grades 2 to 5. They're outdoor activities, and they're easy, they're friendly, they're kid friendly. The kids go outside, explore their neighborhood with their parents or their backyard if they have a backyard. And every week it's a different topic. So last week was on birds. This week is on habitats. 1 week is on adaptations, because we all know we got to learn how to adapt. And with our partners next door, Discovery Museum, this is all new for them. So they're putting together a curriculum right now. And for everyone out there, once they get it live, if you go to their website, they have free options for distance learning for anyone. You know, you don't have to be a registered partner for them. So Beardsley Zoo has webinars that they have that's appropriate for all ages. So, you know, reach out to zoos. I know San Diego Zoo does some really great things too. So it's neat, because it's a different way for these kids to get some of that experiential learning, or that inquiry based, where you have somebody on Zoom or a webinar that's asking the kids questions and asking for feedback, and it's a great conversation. It's nice to have, and it's a great opportunity to use it.
That's great. And
Let me put you on the spot to talk a little bit about the programming that you and your team have stood up during these trying times.
well, it's been really exciting. Tina and I spoke on March 13th, which was the first day that both the Norwalk schools and the aquarium were closed. And we very rapidly adapted a number of our existing programs to distance learning. And we started making those available to Norwalk Public Schools the week of March 23rd. We did our first demo. And shortly after that, we decided to see whether there would be interest among the public. And so we quickly put them on our website. We sent out some emails, and lo and behold, about a month, 5 weeks later, we've now had participation from 35 states and Canada and the UK, which was not something we anticipated. We've done programs with schools in North Carolina, New Hampshire, California, Ohio, Florida. So it's been a really exciting endeavor to see the interest, and that we've been able to partner with schools literally around the country. Tina, I know it was a big learning curve for both of us. And tell us a little bit about some of the other partners you may be working with at Norwalk Public Schools.
Sure. I just want to say I love having conversations like this too, because every time people talk about what they're doing and their experiences, I always have something else to write down to bring back to the teachers and learn. And I just love being able to have these collegial conversations. It's always great. So thank you guys for putting this together, because even though there's only 3 of us from different, areas, I always still learn something new. So thanks, ladies. I'm jotting things down as you're talking. So our partnerships in Norwalk, they're pretty broad. We're a very large urban district. We have a lot of need, a lot of varying need. And if I were to focus in my little pathway here that's focused on STEM, we're very proud, obviously, to have Maritime Aquarium as a partner, but we also recognize that we have a lot of support from the Connecticut Science Center and the Mandel Academy. We do a lot of work with them. We also partner with an engineering and robotics company called Milestone C. They've been working with me since I arrived to design a STEM pathway focused on engineering and robotics and drone operations from grades 5 all the way to high school. We also have a lot of partners where they're helping us transform the pedagogy and the shift of learning in the classroom. And to Mary's point about reaching out and asking for help and assistance, as soon as we went into this environment, I value all of our partners so much and I have such a great relationship with all of them, that reaching out to them and saying, look, we value the work that we do together. How can we revise what we've been doing to meet the needs now of this new landscape? I keep saying that, but I mean, our brains are shifting. We're thinking differently. We're problem solvers, right? We're solution makers. We can figure this out. And so every time I have a conversation with our partners, we tend to solve a new problem. We create a new solution to something that's bigger and better than we ever started with. So we have a lot of instructional partners too, like Better Lesson. They help us transform our math instruction. Learner-centered initiatives help us transform and support our coaches in every content area, not just STEM. So, and then also to Mary's point before about reaching out to, local partners around, we even have people reaching out to us. Sound Waters is a current partner of ours in Stanford that's reached out to want to do provide us with some lessons that are aligned to our curriculum as well, to ease some of the planning on our teachers that we know goes into the weekly and bi-weekly planning for our staff. So that has been a wonderful support. And then I just want to give one more mention to a lot of our instructional applications, such as Nearpod or Newsella or other tools like even Google and Microsoft. We've really literally called them up. Any reps that we have connection with, I've called them up and said, hey, I know we only have this one school that currently has access to your licensing, but I need it for everybody. And I have to tell you, every single one of them that we value has helped us transform some of those high quality tools to give access to every kid in the district, which has been so heartwarming and really a value to our teachers and our students. So just want to give a shout out to them too.
Fantastic. So I want to shift a little bit to thinking about the future. We've all been sort of drinking from the proverbial fire hose and scrambling to get up and running. And we hope that we won't be in this situation in the fall. But I'm interested in hearing from you, if we were to be in this situation again in the fall, what are some of the things that you might want to do over the summer to get ready for that? Monisha, why don't we start with you? How would you spend the couple of months over the summer preparing to really, to do this in the best way possible starting in the fall?
I think when I think about a reentry plan or having to revisit this place again, I think we have to spend some time with our parents who have been incredible through this entire process. We have to take the time to, one, use the data that we know what they need and begin to address some of those issues first. I think to want to dive right in, particularly at the early childhood level, and begin teaching online, I think that there's just some work to be done to support families. They have been right beside their children on these Zooms, learning alongside them and really wanting to know what to do best. I think we also have to think about access. I think that, we are one preschool program of 800 plus preschoolers in the city. How do we get access to other preschool programs in the city of Norwalk and larger so that children can get on tablets? They can do programs that help support their learning and look beyond just the tablets, but also how about those hotspots so that they can get in on the actual internet. And then we cannot forget that there's still poverty that exists. And as we're looking at some of the national data that comes in for our most vulnerable individuals who are being targeted the most, our African-American and Latino population, we have to think about how do we support a population of individuals who already needed a level of support without hurting that community. And so I think we have to begin to look closely at and work with partners to get it done. The last thing I'll add, because something very unique happened to us as well in terms of our partners during this pandemic, we had neighbors, people from their homes, people from up the block coming in to help support in so many different ways. And so I think we have to begin to think about how we can use other non-traditional partners to help us get some of this work done. So that's probably where I would start.
Fantastic. Jason, you're back on. Do you want to interject?
No. So we've got a couple minutes left.
Okay.
So why don't you wrap up, Tom?
Okay. So I want to take us back to Teacher Appreciation Week. And as never before, teachers really deserve appreciation. I want to just take a minute for each of you to ask you, what do you want people to appreciate about teachers in this difficult time? Why don't we go back to you, Mary? And what might people out there not recognize, and what should they appreciate?
I'm gonna do a little spin on your question, because I see this, a panelist had written this too about the parents. And a unique thing about the school that I teach at is I have 2 of my own kids go to that school, and I have a 3rd that's in a different district altogether. So here I am, a teacher, trying to do my work during the school day. And I'm sitting in between a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old boy trying to get them on task to do their school. So it's funny because this Teacher Appreciation Week needs to be expanded, I think, to teachers because of how they're continually changing and adapting to everything that's going on. But these parents, they have a lot of work to do. Some of them are facing unemployment or losing their jobs or the virus themselves. There's others that are just focused on trying to do their work at home and teach as well. And I know that I think the first day I sent out a text to some of my friends and said I could never homeschool my own kids. So it's different and it's hard and it's a new reality. So trying to get that balance, and as Tina said, to get the routines in and to just try to learn as much as you can and adapt and grow, I think you just do the best that you can do.
Fantastic. Okay, Tina, what would you like people to appreciate about Norwalk Public School teachers at this time?
So my goodness, and how long do we have at the end here? So I think the most important part is, you know, the value of the work and the value of each other and the value that we all bring to the table, whether it's a student perspective, a parent perspective, or a teacher perspective. I think we've really kind of broken the barriers around this whole idea that a student can't teach a parent or a student can't teach a teacher, and we're all learning from each other. And I think if we continue with that mindset of we're all in this together and we can all learn from each other, and we're not all expected to know all, but we are expected to be open and willing to try something new. And that's the best way that we can grow and learn, because I think in the end, we are going to be a stronger, more powerful educational system than we ever were before this. I always say on a lot of the sessions that I've had, like, out of something bad comes something really awesome. And I know no matter what happens in a few months, we are going to be better teachers, better parents, better students than we were before.
Fantastic. Well, that's a great way of looking at it. Monisha, you talked about your appreciation for Maritime Odyssey preschools, for preschool teachers. But give us a couple of words about some of the things they're experiencing that maybe people don't recognize.
So having been a teacher in several different states first, and I'll speak on behalf of all teachers, including the Maritime Odyssey Preschool, teachers are underpaid and overworked. I think that this profession that we are in, we need to do a better job of tying into the profession what they deserve in terms of pay. I think that teachers are the backbone of this country. If kids can't go to school, whether it's early childhood or whether it's the classroom, parents can't go to work. And I think that we are so incredibly undervalued in terms of what we bring to the table that I think that we need to bring voice during this pandemic to the roles of teachers and the credit we need to give them for helping keep our country going. So I want to say I think teachers are the greatest, and I certainly thank each of them for all that they're doing.
Well, certainly, that's a great statement to close on. We are all seeing heroes in places that have not been traditionally appreciated to the extent that they should be at this time. And that is an exciting element of what we're seeing. There are more than a few social media posts that I've seen that have said whatever teachers are paid, it's not enough. Parents who are home having to participate now are seeing how hard it is. Jason, I want to give you the last word, but before that, I want to encourage everyone to go on the Maritime Aquarium's website, look for our virtual programs for teachers and schools. We'd love to have you join us in the weeks ahead. So my thanks to everybody who's joined us today, and Jason, we'll let you wrap it up.
So thank you, Tom. And I have to say, some of the comments that have just come in the last couple minutes have been to remark how eloquent the three of you have been in these final remarks. So I cannot really wrap it up any better than that, other than to say that these are extraordinarily challenging times. And, you know, we talk a lot about the first responders who are in the medical community, standing up and rising to the challenge. It's unsung that teachers are doing this very same thing for their constituencies, the students, the children, the parents. And so this is Teacher Appreciation Week. it's not enough. Every week is Teacher Appreciation Week. We commented among ourselves earlier that this goes back to Eleanor Roosevelt. So 50, 60 years of a formal recognition of the work of teachers. Again, not enough. What you all are doing for the future generation is really tremendous, and there's no way to really express the gratitude that you all deserve in your work. I will only say it's been a great honor to be part of this, to convene this forum, to give folks listening in the chance to hear exactly how difficult it is, what you're standing up, how you're standing it up, how you're thinking about the future. And so thank you again for participating, and we look forward to reconnecting and seeing what great things come out of your work, and more importantly, out of your students' work and the next generation going forward. So thank you all, and we look forward to the next webinar next week. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.